Men really do tend to marry women to exploit them, whether they know this or not, whether it's intentional or not. Women end up getting exploited in marriage. This is one of the biggest reasons I started my channel. Let's talk about it. So one of the first things that comes to mind when I think about women being exploited in marriage is definitely cooking and cleaning. Let's just start there. Don't do these things for a man. Do not come over, do not clean his place, do not cook him dinner. Just don't. Just don't do any of those things, because chances are you do those things because you intrinsically know that men like that, and you know that he will consider you like more of a catch. But that's exactly the problem. That's exactly why so many women end up in these exploitative marriages, because if that is what you're using to attract a mate, then they are going to assume that that's what you want to do for the rest of your life. They're going to assume that that's what you're bringing to the table. And that's not what I'm bringing to the table in a marriage. I'm not bringing cooking or cleaning or anything like that to the table, because if you do that once, chances are you're going to get stuck with that role for the rest of your entire life. There have been times in mine and my husband's life that our house wasn't always clean, that we weren't always eating clean, and that's because we were both working hard, and I was not going to jeopardize like my job, my career, or any of that just so that our house would be a little bit more clean, just so that I could be the one that worries about like what kind of food we're eating and is everybody getting their vitamins. Like, I don't care. If I don't have the energy to expend on that stuff for myself, I certainly am not going to be worried about another person. Just that simple. And he's never wanted that from me, for the record. To wrap up that first point, I guess my advice would be, do not marry anyone where you feel like you would be doing more housework than them, or you feel like if you didn't do any housework for like a week, they wouldn't even like lift a finger or like know what to do. Basically, like, marry somebody that's on the same level as you as far as cleanliness standards and initiative, like taking initiative as far as cleaning and cooking and all of these things. Like, please do not marry men who don't know how to do these things unless you also don't know how to do these things and you're not planning on being the only one that learns. The second thing that women get exploited for is for being like a secretary slash life manager for the man, scheduling his doctor's appointments, scheduling his dentist appointments, reminding him of like upcoming family birthdays, buying gifts for those things. There's really no reason for you as a woman to take over on buying like his mom's gifts, his grandma's gifts. It's such a farce, and it's not fun for anybody at that point. Like, it's not fun for you because you're worried about people you don't know that well and that you shouldn't be buying presents for, honestly, because you don't know them that well. Unless you want to get a gift from yourself, but like not on your husband's behalf. It's not worth concerning yourself with. It's really not. His family, his business. And if they ever even try to like put that on you, that he showed up without a gift, be ruthless about it. And feel free to ask them why they think it's your responsibility at all. It's really not. If he's complaining about his health or his teeth or anything like that, the only thing you should be doing is saying, sounds like you should go see a doctor. Sounds like you should go to the dentist. You're a grown-ass adult. Find your own insurance paperwork, call the doctor that's convenient for you. Because the other thing that men love doing is actually like being unhappy and put out when you do these things for them. They'll be like, oh, well, I don't want to drive all the way out to wherever you scheduled this appointment. Oh, well, I have work that day. All right, sir, handle it yourself. You are not this man's secretary automatically just because you're getting married. He should know where his own documents are. He should know where his own like pay stubs, passports, all that stuff. He should have his own filing system for it. That's not your job. If you weren't there, he should be able to handle this stuff and know how to do it. He should learn to do this stuff and deal with all this for his own sake, not for your sake. Women do not dream of unpaid labor in a marriage. That's not what marriage is for. And this list really is endless. I'm just covering like the really basic stuff, but there's like nooks and crannies where this exploitation really hides, and it'll be up to you to do that audit. You have to do that audit constantly because both people have to really intentionally be working against the socialization that we all are bombarded with every day. The third thing that women tend to get exploited for is intimacy. And I do mean this in like the bedroom way, but I also mean it in like a confidant type of way. But let's cover the bedroom first. You two should have equal or equitable satisfaction in the bedroom. I don't care how much longer it takes. Like, I don't care. And it doesn't need to take long if they know what they're doing. But you should never be walking away with blue balls, okay? As the woman. That shit is crazy. That shit is frustrating. I will never understand women who are like, oh, well, I have fun anyway. No, you don't. No, you don't. You clearly don't know how much fun you could be having. If I wasn't having that maximum amount of fun in my bedroom, I would be being exploited. I would feel exploited, and you should too. It's not normal for somebody to use your body to achieve their own pleasure and then not care about the pleasure that you were not able to achieve. And I'm just going to end it there because I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. If he doesn't care about your pleasure in the bedroom, then you are being exploited. Of course, the other type of intimacy that women get exploited for is the type where he gets to come home and unload all of his frustration and all of his bitching, and he tells you all about his day. And you listen, you do your best to comfort, you do your best to cheer him up, all of this stuff. The one time that you come to him because somebody close to you has passed away or been diagnosed with something and you're crying and you're broken and you don't know what to do, he's like, I don't know what you want me to do. I get really uncomfortable around emotions. So that means you're being exploited. If you're uncomfortable around emotions, then take your own emotions elsewhere. Don't expect other people to be so comfortable that they can handle and regulate your emotions for you. Meanwhile, you don't even know how to ask somebody about their day. You don't even care when your partner is in distress. You don't care to learn how to help them cope. You don't care to do something that's might even be uncomfortable for you and walk over to them in that moment and give them a hug and let them cry and just listen, even though they've done that for you many a time. That's what a lot of men don't want to talk about. You guys cry and women comfort you, but then that same woman will be crying and in distress and you're like, I don't know what to do. The same thing she did for you, dumbass. The same exact thing. Go get her favorite food. Go get her, a blanket. Give her a hug. Tell her to take the rest of the night off. Like, I don't fucking understand. It's not hard. But a lot of men are so selfish that they will literally exploit you in that way too. They will fully rely on you for your emotional support, but they will make damn sure that you're never comfortable enough to need emotional support from them. And then you have to go dump everything on your best friend or whatever it is because your husband is incapable of supporting you emotionally. You'll know when you're in a non-exploitative marriage when you and your husband can both support each other emotionally, mentally. You don't have to spell everything out for him the way that he doesn't have to spell everything out for you, or vice versa. Maybe you guys spell everything out for each other, but it should always go both ways. That's the non-exploitative part. Another big thing that women get exploited on is the man's career. This usually happens with or without children. It is kind of a societal problem because men do have more earning potential in our society, which sucks, which is the reason that a lot of women, kids or not, choose to put their career on the back burner and support their husband's career because it is fiscally makes more sense and is more responsible. And that sucks. So you being in a non-exploitative marriage would look like your career is being treated the same way that a man's career would be treated. My husband is obviously extremely supportive of everything I do. I've had a wildly diverse string of occupations in my life, and that is because women are sort of fucked when it comes to the workplace anyway. So I have, really shot my shot at several large opportunities, and he has continued to support me. He does not expect me to sacrifice anything for his job, for his career. We just simply support each other the best way that we can. Sometimes he has to work late, so, I take over on home stuff. Other times he comes home and I'm still working, so he takes over. Neither one of our careers takes a precedent. If we ever come to a head with something, we solve it as if we were both men. That's how important both of our careers are. Even if it doesn't necessarily go as far as you giving up your career, but you take on less hours so that you can keep up more at home, or take a pay cut or something like that so that you can be more available to pick up the slack from his career, that's you getting exploited. You can't guarantee in the future that something's not going to happen between the two of you that's going to necessitate a divorce. And in that case, you will be so much further behind on your career. I, for example, don't have to worry about that because I've never taken a cut to support my husband's career. I won't be worried about all the career opportunities I missed out on if something were to happen. And after all this, we still haven't even covered the biggest way that women get exploited in marriage, which is children. Unless you want children with or without a husband, don't have children in a marriage because you will be exploited. Don't have kids because your husband really wants them and it wasn't really part of your plan, but he really wants them and he's going to support you. Don't do any of that. That's you being exploited. Unless there's a solid plan in place where you're being paid back for the work you miss, where you're being paid for your career setbacks. A lot of men want a child for free. And it's not going to be free for you as the woman. That's the problem. It's not going to be free for you. You are going to have health issues and health complications from a pregnancy. It's a life-threatening event, regardless of whether it goes well or not. It's always a life-threatening event. And it's a life-changing event. For him, neither of those things are true. It may be life-changing, sure, but it's not going to change his life as much as yours, ever. And it's exploitative just based on that nature. And most men cannot afford, I repeat, most men cannot afford to have a baby with you in a way that doesn't exploit you. Because they cannot afford to pay you the back wages that you're going to miss. They cannot afford to pay you for the career setbacks that are going to impact you for the rest of your life. I'm going to tag a video down here that Bourbon Bougie did about this very issue. And there's a graph in there that makes this very, very clear. Women do not recover from being a stay-at-home mom, from giving birth, from becoming a mom, career-wise. They never recover. Their wages will drop and remain stagnant for the rest of their career. Therefore, women are being exploited. If you're no, I have the kid and I'll stay home and he'll provide for us and that's the deal. I'm giving up my career and all that, but he's gonna provide for us. Well, what if he doesn't? What if he gets hit by a bus? What happens to you and your kid? Exactly. You're gonna have the exact fate that you tried to avoid by being with a provider man. Always have your own career. You should always have your own income as a woman. And if your husband's not willing to either support or reimburse that somehow, then he cannot afford to have a child with you without exploiting you, without it somehow backfiring on you and not on him. So keep that in mind, ladies. That's the biggest way that men will exploit you, is by saying, oh, let's have a baby. Won't that be fun? It's exploitation. And most men simply can't afford it and should not even be thinking about it. Not even be thinking about reproducing. Just know there's going to be a lot of, oh, well, then why would a man ever get married? Like, what do y'all bring to the table? Exactly. Exactly. I think a lot less men would get married if they knew how to do these things for themselves, and if they did not need to exploit women just in order to have like a normal, non-depressing, non-piece of shit life. I do think the marriage rates would be lower. I think men would be less eager to get married. And I think if women knew all this, like how it's laid out right here, right now, if women could just see it like that, they would also be a lot less eager to get married to these dumpy ass losers who plan to exploit them for their work ethic, for all the benefits that a woman brings to a man's life, just by default, just by stepping into his life, wanting to raise his standard of living so that it matches hers, all for him to be still like ungrateful about it in the end. Justify it by, oh, well, I go to work and I support and blah, blah, blah. You would have to go to work anyway. You would have to go to work regardless to pay for your own life. And providing a roof over somebody's head does not entitle you to their indentured servitude for the rest of your life or their life or whatever. Because you couldn't afford that. You couldn't afford that. You couldn't afford that help if you paid for it. You just want a woman to do it for free. You want to exploit her. And mind you, ladies, they only threaten you with this what do you bring to the table crap to distract you from the fact that they bring nothing to the table. They just want to sit down and be serviced by you at your expense. They can't even be bothered to get to know you properly. Most of them are not curious enough intellectually or interesting enough intellectually to even have like a full-blown conversation every day with. They don't educate themselves for fun or for personal growth for any reason. God forbid. Their main and basically only concern in life is impressing other men, which they are using you to do at your expense. Every minute you spend with a man like that that's just using you for your services is a minute of your life that you will never ever get back. That should be horrifying to you. This is exactly what this kind of vetting process would be for. If you like let a man know that this is how you feel and he's like, well, then why would I want to get married? Then you can know for a damn fact he was planning to exploit you this whole time. The reason my husband and I are married is not so that he can go to work and I can do stuff around the house, because we don't live in the 1950s. We're married because we really, really, really love each other's company, and there's nobody else. There's nobody I'd rather wake up next to, come home to, fall asleep next to, bullshit around with, have deep conversations with, have silly conversations with, watch movies with, go hiking with, go paddleboarding with, go to the gym with. Light of my life, I fucking love that man because I'm not exploited on his behalf. He treats me that well in every single area of my life. It's a very easy choice. We both wanted the same things, and none of those things included like traditional gender roles. And marriage has never been hard for us. Life is hard, yes. You know, figuring certain things out is hard. Working on yourself is hard. Working on yourself is the hardest part of marriage. It's not the marriage part itself. It's the like how much it will expose areas where you are selfish or stunted or emotionally immature. Yes, those parts are hard to see about yourself. But if you're both willing to do that, then you'll be fine. This whole idea of, well, what's marriage for if you're not just gonna like get married and buy a 3-bedroom house and have a baby and the wife is gonna stay home and the husband's gonna go to work and the wife's gonna make his lunch and his breakfast and his dinner and she's gonna take care of the baby. And when it's time to go somewhere, she's got everybody's outfits laid out. She's got all the gifts bought. She's got all this done. You know, but she can never complain to anybody but her best friend or her sister or her mom. And in a lot of cases, still go to work and do that stuff. Still go to work, still take a hit to her career, still like not be fulfilled in any of the things that she's doing because she's essentially doing them all alone. And her husband is living a completely separate little dream life where everything is laid out for him, everything is done for him, somebody thinks for him, somebody speaks for him, somebody buys everything for him. Like, of course they have time to cheat on y'all because they're exploiting you. They're exploiting you, and they're exploiting everybody around them, including their own children, including the women that they cheat on you with. It's all about exploitation. And men, a lot of men are really just black holes of this. They will exploit you until there's literally nothing left of you to exploit. And then they will, dead serious, move on to somebody else immediately and start exploiting her too. Hope this helps. Let me know if you have any more questions, but please stay safe out there. Godspeed.